Do you want to create encounters with godlike beings and offer your players powers that emulate deities? Do you want to experience an apocalypse as characters navigate a spiritual war involving magic? Do you want to adventure in and out of the spirit realm as you uncover the mysteries of an ancient calamity at a place called Geistcrown? Well, if you answered yes to those questions, we've got books that address those needs and much more in the latest episode of D&D New Releases. So let's get started. Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and 𝐷rive-thru RPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demi-planes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. First up, we have Azrael's Guide to the Apocalypse for 5th edition from Red Panda Publishing. Is $29 for 252 pages. And this one looks really interesting. We've all heard about the biblical revelations and apocalypse and all that stuff. So they use that as sort of a jumping off point to create this adventure for levels 10 to 20. So, as you get in those higher tiers of adventure, you're going to have more and more power. You're going to be really putting up a challenge for any enemy. So playing 10 to 20 is not something that happens often for people. So it's cool to see that they deliberately didn't even start this adventure to level 10. So you could really just, if you're going to go through this whole campaign, you're really going to get to experience the upper half of the levels as you go through this apocalyptic scenario. So it says it's a high-level adventure. Join Azrael, the Angel of Death, and an eclectic band of heroes as you embark on an adventure inspired by the events of the biblical book of Revelation. This journey is not for the faint of heart, and defeating evil will come at a cost. This campaign will challenge the conventions of space and time, thrusting the player characters into the front lines of a spiritual war that spans the fringes of human understanding and mortal history, and will bring each character face to face with cosmic horrors, and worst of all, their own personal demons. The monsters, magic items, and adventure structure are all inspired by the biblical book of Revelation, but the narrative is designed to unfold in a way that is personal to each character. This means that although the encounters are linear, with each vignette being presented in a prescribed order, the choices made by the characters will have a direct impact on the story as well as on their personal destinies. An included story tracker will allow the GM to keep track of critical decisions made by the players during each arc of the adventure, which will lead to dire consequences by level 20. The players have full agency in solving each dilemma as it develops, but the choices they make along the way will shape reality itself. So I can imagine with that being the case, that a replay is going to be very different, right? So this could be really fun. And if you get your arms around this and you get good at playing this as either a pro DM or just someone who DMs multiple tables, you're going to have handle a good 10 to 20 adventure. So that could be really fun to get those higher tier experiences. I mean, a lot of people are probably craving that, provided that the DM is up to the task, of course. It says the player characters are the heroes of the story, and this module presents 5 new subclass options that are designed to fit into the apocalyptic theme. It takes place in the spiritual realm outside of time and space, and so player characters might hail from vastly different time periods and cultures of human history, yet find themselves thrown together in an adventure of cosmic and biblical proportions. When the characters first meet, they may find each other's tools and abilities strange, but any differences will soon be forgotten when confronted with the horrors of spiritual warfare. So I love that. It's nice that you can have, maybe you already have some existing, because this starts at level 10, right? So maybe you have characters that are under level 10 that are modern, and then you have characters that are under level 10 that are fantasy or horror or whatever, and you can bring them all together. Maybe you have to boost them to level 10, but that's okay, right? Get them up to level 10 and bring this all together. That could be really interesting. Maybe even you have tables that merge. Maybe you have a fantasy table and a modern table, and they don't realize that they're about to merge into this apocalyptic adventure. So there's a video you can watch. You can also get the Foundry VTT version either separately or together by clicking the link in the video description to do that. But here's the table of contents. Again, I mean, this is a mammoth volume, 252 pages, that was part of a Kickstarter. So you get the Reapers, which are, an enemy force, I believe, and the section called the Woman, Desecration, Faithful unto the Undead, the Seven Seals, again, a lot of biblical themes. So you want to make sure your players are comfortable with that. But again, this is going to go your own way. It's not going to just be prescribed by the Bible or something. You're going to be able to turn this into whatever you want. But you're getting, also at the front of the book, you're getting these things like the Cleric Exorcism Domain, the Fighter Commando subclass, Monk Way of the Pilgrim, Paladin Oath of the Templar, and Warlock Patron the Watcher. So those could be fun in and out of this book. You can use those for other things beyond this adventure as well. You get magic items in the appendices, creatures, elders, and heroes, a story tracker. I mean, it's filled with stuff. So here we go. We're scrolling through. I'm going to zoom out so you can kind of just get the feel for the layout, how nicely organized it is, how cool everything looks. You've got these really cool tables here for eternal traits, and then you get those new subclasses. So let's zoom back in so we can read some of that. So you get bonds, flaws, all those things here. So we'll just pick a number on each table. So eternal bonds: I died before meeting my newborn daughter. I don't think my soul will be able to rest until I've held her in my arms for the first time. Would be your bond. Your ideal might be beauty. This one: more step in the journey that never ends. Why would I pass on when there is so much left to see here? So, dealing with that spirit leaving, right? A flaw might be gluttony. I spent my life chasing highs from alcohol, drugs, and partying. All I can think about is where my next fix is coming from. So yeah, that could be something that your character plays, right? Is addiction as your character. And another option might be for your talent: I have spent a lifetime studying strategy and the art of warfare. I have more practical knowledge of battle than most angels, and heavenly hosts could use me in the coming war against darkness. So fun. I mean, we just read a few little options, but they're fun. You could see the angles you could work there. But let's read this little box about manipulating reality. That sounds interesting. It says a creature can use its bonus action to make a DC 18 intelligence check to bend the physics of the veil to their will. If the check is successful, they can momentarily alter the laws of physics in one way that suits their purposes. The extent to which a character can alter physics is up to the GM, but the following options would be acceptable: double their movement speed for a round, pass through one non-magical barrier, like with the etherealness spell, gain a fly speed for 1 round, or create a non-magical object worth up to 1,000 GP. So that could be interesting too, just dealing with that. There's the veil, there's all these concepts that you can even remove from this book and not make it so biblical. It could be, just dealing with like the ethereal plane or some new plane that you invent. I love how much there is here. There's so many options. It's a 10 to 20 adventure. I mean, you just don't see that. You'll see books that are like tier 4 or tier 3, but a whole campaign. I mean, we've seen ones that go from 1 to 20, and those are impressive as well. But I particularly like that this one is 10 to 20, especially since it's going to bring together characters from all these different realms and worlds. So you could really merge some tables. Maybe you've had some people drop out of your tables, your modern table and your regular table, your fantasy table, whatever, and you bring them all together into one cohesive adventure, all the way taking it to 20. Because most people, they don't continue past 20. You can. There's some epic options out there, but most people stop at 20. So it could be a fun way to go out with a bang. And here it is. It's called Azrael's Guide to the Apocalypse. Look for it in the video description and give it a click. Next, we have The Cold Road Home, an Iron Kingdoms adventure from Privateer Press, and it's only $1.99 for a whole adventure. It's 13 pages, author Matt Goetz, and it says, they say you can never go home again. The High Priest of Nis-Or is about to test that theory. 𝙎𝙤 the Wise, the eldest living Nis in the Iron Kingdoms, has begun a pilgrimage to his homeland, the Shard Spires. As High Priest of the dead god Nis-Or, 𝙎𝙤 knows his death is near. Though the ancestral Nis home has long been overrun by Everblight's blighted army, 𝙎𝙤 is prepared to brave the frozen mountain passes and the ever-present threat of lurking dragon spawn. Summoning brave souls as escorts, 𝙎𝙤 now walks the long, cold road home. So it's suited for an adventuring company of level 3 characters. So that's a good spot for an adventure. All right, so looking inside, you get more information about the background here and some hooks, which we'll look at in a second. Very cool. And Into the Shard Spires, that sounds really good. We'll look at that as well. So for the adventure hooks, it says, looking for work. Characters with a mercenary outlook can have learned through their connections that there is a Nis offering decent pay for an escort into the mountains. Sounds like a reasonable introduction. Then passing through, if the characters are in the region, they may hear rumors of a strange Nis in Kaldinsk who is looking for capable individuals to help him with the situation. I like that one. It's mysterious. Like what's the situation, and there's a strangeness. So what's up with this strangeness? The strangeness of the strangeness. And then for the Winter Father, it says a group that contains a Nis character may have learned that the respected I don't know how to say that, Aransor, 𝙎𝙤 the Wise, has left his people and set out on his way to the Shard Spires. It is impossible to dissuade the elder Nis from his path, but protecting him on his journey is still an option. So yeah, that could be fun too. Having this respected character that's traveling and just kind of, since you can't dissuade this elder from doing this thing, you're gonna at least be there to protect the elder and make sure they make it there on time. That I like that one a lot. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for role play and even conversations to try to convince, to turn back or whatever. It says, traveling into the Shard Spires is no small feat. The terrain is rugged, leading up to the icy peak of the Nis homeland, from where they set out to venture to the Fane of Nis-Or is 50 miles into the mountains. 𝙎𝙤 acts as a guide for the characters. Despite the 10 years he spent away, he still ably recalls the safest and best passage through the mountains. During the journey, he will give sage advice to the characters and describe what the home of Nis was like before it was corrupted by the dragon Everblight. So cool. You have this character who's going to accompany them and explain everything. They even give some sample flavor text here. And I think that's really helpful. As often as you can have flavor text, I don't think you can have too much. I guess it could be a crutch for some folks, but I think it's nice to have it. So let's read a little bit of it. They have an example here. It says, the Nis takes a deep draw from an ivory pipe before speaking. Thank you for responding to my offer. In those mountains to the north is my ancestral homeland, stolen through betrayal and corruption. Those of us who escaped were scattered to the winds. Those who remained were twisted and defiled by the dragon Everblight, enslaved to do his bidding. The dragon's schemes are unraveling, though. His legion is spread thin and crumbling. The time is now for me to return home to the temple of the Winter Father and to reclaim it from those who have defiled it. So, compelling, right? This person has a strong reason to return. There's dragons involved, corruption, twisted fates, awaiting people who stayed there, so who knows what you're going to find. And sometimes I think role-playing disappointment is really interesting. You know, if you're a DM and you have to portray this character and he's got all these expectations and he's going to get there and then he's, this isn't what I was anticipating. You know, you role-playing that could be so fun, right? And so interesting and unexpected, because a lot of people just expect it to go perfectly and that they're going to have this happy ending and it's going to be like the movies, everything's going to work out, and it just doesn't always go that way, right? So look for it in the video description links. I think it'll be a really fun adventure for level 3. It's under Cold Road Home. Give it a click. Next we have The Commander by Daryl Dominguez and Team Walrus Designs. It's $5.95 for 12 pages. It's a 5th edition class. It says, what is a commander? Leaders of men, be they royalty, teachers, scholars, or soldiers. Commanders are individuals who excel at leading troops into battle with nothing but a symbol and a rallying cry. Many of them treat battle as an art form. So to a commander, every person in combat plays an important part in achieving victory. It's made for those who wish to make the most out of their adventuring party, as well as being the face of the party. What follows is a traditional gameplay loop of a commander. Action, use your attack or activate a banner. Bonus action, issue a command or disengage. Movement, you need to position yourself in the best place for your banners to assist your allies. And then reaction, use your helping hand feature to assist others to achieve the desired outcome. So we think of the commander as like a leader, right? So this is actioning on that by having you have a feature called banners and focusing on helping hand and all that stuff to really boost your allies. And as described, maybe even being the face of the party. Maybe it's a title that's bestowed upon this person either through the party or through some other faction that then the party respects. So it could be a really interesting dynamic. As long as you have a player that, you know, it doesn't get too carried away, of course. And it's focused around boosting your allies. It's got 6 subclasses. We love that. Every time we see a new class, we want at least 6, I would say, is the good number. You see 3, but, you know, how are you going to compete with 25 out there for these other classes that have existed for a long time, right? So I say go for a minimum of 6 if you're a creator. 2 new basic weapons, 3 magical items, and 3 new feats. And this creator has quite a bit of experience with classes and other things. I mean, you can see they've got the Scion, the Spellborn. We've talked about some of these other classes previously. So have confidence in this. It's from someone who's passionate about classes. So you see you get those leadership styles would be maybe your subclasses. You can be a caring mentor, an enlightened sage, an intimidating guild master, a knight protector, etc. And then here we get the introduction to the commander, which we'll look at a little bit in a second. Your quick build, and then some of your features before you get into those subclasses. So you're getting to see the entirety of the book. That's very, very kind of this creator to show you pretty much everything here. Including how to create the commander equipment, magic items. I mean, they could have just stopped with just the class and the subclasses, but you're getting to see everything. So it's so cool. I love that. So let's go back up here and read a little bit about the commander. So commanders study combat in all its forms, be that historical accounts and stories or the present day conflicts of mercenary bands, gangs, and nations. While they may be not exceptional at using weapons, they are able to see the flow of combat around them and know when and how to let others know how to deal the maximum amount of damage. So that's really good. I mean, true leaders don't try to be the best at every single thing. They recognize what they're good at, what they're not, and they lean into other people's strengths and they let those folks shine. And so this sounds like it fits with that, which is awesome. So in terms of features, the first one is command. You know how combat should flow and the best way to use the resources available. Starting at first level, you know 2 commands you can issue to creatures from the following list. You learn additional commands as you level. And some of these can have a prerequisite, like being at a certain level. So as a bonus action, you can issue a command to a creature other than yourself that can hear you within 10 feet of you unless otherwise stated by the command. At 9th level, the range you can command increases to 20 feet, and at 17th, 30. So that's good. And so one of the commands, which has a prerequisite of 13 level, is be better. The commanded creature has its proficiency bonus increased by 1. And then be efficient. When the commanded creature rolls a 1 or 2 on a damage or healing die, it can re-roll the die and must use the new roll, even if the new roll is a 1 or a 2. And that's just a couple examples. There's a whole column full of them, so you should come back and read that. The banner, as an action, you can place a banner bearing your symbol within 5 feet of you to create a non-magical effect. You can only have one banner at a time. When you place your banner, you choose which non-magical effect the banner generates. Additionally, as an action, while you are within 5 feet of a deactivated banner, you can activate a currently inactive or deactivated banner, which, you can only have one at a time, it sounds like. And then there's a radius that increases as you level. And so those banners are going to have different effects. But, I mean, we're just reading. And finally, at level 20, as an action, you can give a rousing speech to your allies, friendly creatures within 30 feet of you that can hear you, gain all the benefits of a short rest. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So, yeah, you could get like a speedy short rest. That could be huge help. And that would make sense that, like, you're just doing something, and you can ask the player to act this out and say, what kind of speech or what thing are you going to say to the party to really, really cause them to feel rested. It's got to be inspiring, right? So the subclasses are here. You can be an intimidating guildmaster. You are a thug who learned that a strong hand and an intimidating presence is all you need to command the streets. Creatures follow your commands more out of fear of what you'll do to them than out of loyalty. So yeah, I mean, the commander doesn't always have to be benevolent. They can be someone who is up to no good or just not the best. And that makes sense. I mean, think about a mafia boss, right? They're a leader, but they're not necessarily the best in terms of behavior. So you got magic items like Chain of the Mad God, Scythe of Death, feats like Defensive Fighting, Whipmaster. I mean, this is filled with good stuff that all works well together, I think. And, again, it's from someone who's passionate about classes, produced a lot of successful class books. So if you're itching to try a brand new class, I would give Daryl and Team Walrus Designs work a try, and you can do that by looking for the link in the video description for the commander and giving it a click. Next, we have The Dark Below, a supplement for heroes, villains, and more from Critical Crafting. It's $9.99, and it says, this subterranean release takes us down deep into the mantle of the earth, venture forth into lands barely conceivable by the surface dwellers above, and discover creatures and wonders beyond your wildest imaginations, lands completely devoid of the warmth and light of the surface. The dark below calls, will your table answer? So you're getting a ton of stuff, as usual, from Critical Crafting. I enjoy their work. We've covered their stuff many times, and I do hope at some point they do a bundle, so it's easier to get a lot of their books, because they have so many, and it's hard to pick which one you want, because they all just sound so good. Well, this one has 5 stat blocks, a monster template, 5 encounters, 8 maps, 16 items, 2 graphs, which is a mechanic from previous volumes, but I'm sure they describe it sufficiently here. 5 spells, 2 sigils, 2 player races, 1 player subclass, 5 feats, 2 deficiencies, lore, hazards, and tokens. I mean, for $9.99, you're getting a lot in the 50 pages that come with this. So it's broken down into lore, encounters, races, classes, subclasses, feats, deficiencies, all that stuff, and sigils and spells. Again, they're releasing quite a few volumes, and they can work together to have sort of a big setting if you want, or you can plug and play the individual titles into whatever you're doing. But I like how it's a grab bag of different things. So maybe you take a spell and a graft and an item and a deficiency and a feat, and you move those into one table, and then you use some other stuff, a different encounter or whatever, for another table. And so it's just kind of, you can just keep grabbing things out of here, or you can use it all together. But it's The Dark Below itself, which is the title, is a realm of interconnected tunnels, caves, and chasms located deep underground. Here, strange creatures lurk in the depths, and even stranger civilizations have formed beneath the rock. Some of the prominent locations of The Dark Below are provided here. And then you can find out there's other things that you can find out about the surrounding regions, right? Because again, these are building blocks. They all work together to give you a larger setting if you want. But there's something called Blackwater Chasm, the Hive of Yasp, Cristata Caverns, the Null Mine. That sounds so cool. It says Null Mine is the largest mining operation of the Order of the Blank present in the Dark Below. This massive mine serves as a subterranean city with hundreds if not thousands of workers having lived and died here for generations, most never having seen the light of the sun. Null Mine is under the command of Atreus III, a Blank Annihilator, demoted to the low position of overseeing the backwards tunnelers working to expand the Blank's mining operations, as well as search for the hidden city of Eden. The mine regularly ships valuable ore to the surface using construct couriers, or is used in crafting the anti-magic armor and weapons of the infamous Blank. While they are accepted or rule on the surface, the Blank has a much more tenuous foothold in the Dark Below, and the mine itself is constantly under repair from the attacks of various subterranean denizens. And the Blank was referenced in some of the previous ones we've looked at. There's like a whole anti-magic supplement that they have, which is really fun. So if you need like an anti-magic faction or area, they're going to have that for you as well. I mean, again, this is a really cool publishing company as far as they're working. Here you can see like the surface world, and then they're showing you all these locations with this really fun underground map. It reminds me of an ant colony with how all the little tunnels go and stuff. But I think it's a great way, because this is not top down like a lot of maps. This is a cutaway view, which I think is really, really cool. So you can see how deep things go. Because eventually, you could get to the bottom layer of this. So you got a sunken lake, the take stuff pit, kobolds, crystal grove. Here's the city of Eden. We were talking about the Terravator, the mushroom cavern, and the river Zill. It looks like Cristata Caverns. So it's like what awaits you. Each of these sounds so good. The never-ending trail. You don't want to get lost in here. It's a lot of twists and turns. There's one called the Bottomless Pit. It does look truly bottomless. And these all sound very appropriate for the setting of being the Dark Below, right? It should have some darkness. It should have some danger. It should be underground, of course, right? And, the Dark Below is also below the video in the video description links. So I hope you travel down there and click that link so you can grab this awesome artwork that you see here on the cover and all the goodies that lie behind it. All right, check it out. Next, we have the Godly Grimoire. Divine powers for all classes. Harness the powers and relics of divine aspects and battle against their godlike might. It's $9.95 for 89 pages from Paolo Devolio and Echidna Design. You may recognize those names from the Honkonomicon and other titles. But there's tons of really cool art here, and I really like the concept. Sometimes deities just don't get enough action in the game, so it's cool to see a book focused on that. It says, whether you are a lucky adventurer, a devoted hero, or a merciless stealer of divine power, the Godly Grimoire puts in your hands the power to conjure divine aspects and emulate their abilities. You don't have to be a cleric or a paladin to use this book. Thanks to dozens of spells, magic items, and stat blocks, these powers are available to characters of any class, background, and motivation, or can be used by the DM to create encounters against godlike beings. So, fun stuff. It looks like there's 21 summon aspect spells, one per each of the featured deities, complete with play-tested stat blocks to be conjured at the table by spellcaster of any class or characters blessed or cursed by this ability. 63 new spells, 16 new magic items of all rarities, 21 familiar deities from the D&D canon or other common divine archetypes, including a detailed guide on how to easily adapt them to any pantheon or campaign. You got Asmodeus, Vecna, Tiamat, the Raven Queen, Bahamut, and many more. The divine aspects as 63 monsters of various CR. So, one of the challenges is having a stat block, but this has got you covered. So, you don't have to worry about where would the stat block be for the aspect of some of these deities. And then, of course, tons of artwork. And you can see some of the layout pages here, really beautifully done and inspiring. And there is sort of a companion book. It's also a companion to the Deck of Many Things. It's called the Deck of Divine Mysteries. This was released during the release window that we're covering with this episode as well. So you might want to check that out. It's got 54 unique magical effects for a deck of cards, similar to the Deck of Many Things, but it's based on the deities from this book, so it goes really well with it. Hopefully at some point there'll be a bundle to buy both, because I'm sure people will be interested in that as well. Here we are inside. You can see all the sort of intro explaining what this book is and how it works. And then it says harnessing divine incarnations. You get into the deities, and it talks about what a divine aspect is, how it works with the characters, adapting the pantheon, and then you get into those spells and how you might acquire them, or you can just, of course, put them in a spell list, but there's options to make that happen differently. And then the spells with the stat blocks that go with those aspects. And then you've got the relics, including magic items, and the descriptions for those, including things like the Rosary of the Godly Aura, the Staff of the Divine Herald, and the Weapon of the Divine Mark. So, fun stuff. It says, are you worthy of the Godly Grimoire, the secrets of the deities within these pages? Here you will find several new spells, magic items, monsters representing the gods, and manifestations of their powers, ready to be wielded by characters of any class. So cool. I love that. Again, I always find deities interesting in roleplay, and this book I think is going to give a lot of options for that. I mean, most of the time it's like, oh, you know, you're a paladin or a cleric, and you have, or a druid maybe, and you're connected to a particular deity, and you talk about it a little bit, but it just doesn't really go much further than that. I mean, maybe you pray or do some sort of offering to a deity, but it just doesn't get much deeper. So this book's gonna fix that. It says the second chapter is the heart of this book, featuring the deities with their spells and statistics for a total of 21 summons, 63 spells, and as many monster stat blocks. Each deity has been carefully illustrated, and it includes a spell list organized by level. So yeah, that's going to make it much easier. So here it says harnessing divine incarnations. The deities featured in this book have been chosen to represent a well-varied array of divine powers. So you got a list here, tons of different alignments and domains, and their symbols. But you can see, I mean, it goes from Asmodeus all the way down to Zahir, and there's a ton of familiar names in this list. So I love that. It says, what is a divine aspect? An aspect is a minor avatar of a deity with just a spark of its divine power. So you have the avatars, and then you have the aspects, which be like a step below that. While an avatar might be an extension of a divine being or even its actual incarnation, an aspect is more like a reflection of the deity's nature and identity. I like that. That's a good way of thinking of it. Therefore, aspects are significantly weaker than the deities they originated from or their true avatars, but this also means they are closer, or they are easier to summon, and also for the deity to manifest. It says powers of the aspects. So each aspect has an effect on the surrounding environment through a divine aura. Each aspect is resistant to the damage of non-magical weapons and resistant or immune to several other types of damage. Besides one or more attacks, each aspect also has an action with a recharge or daily use that depends on the deity's characteristics and portfolio. And ultimately, each aspect has a unique strong ability that requires its sacrifice. So that's fun. I like that structure. I could see where that would play out differently based on the portfolio of a deity or its alignment, you know, things like that. Maybe things that deity is known for. So really cool. And I like that it kind of has like a sort of sacrificial power where it can just basically destroy itself to do something. So it talks about adapting the pantheon, but you're going to get to see 23 of these 89 pages. So you can see some of the adaptations. If you want to use the Greek pantheon or Egyptian pantheon, you can kind of just look left and right here to take, you know, maybe Asmodeus, and it's a stand-in for Hades or Odin, right? And that's really, really cool too, because some folks do make up their own pantheons. And it just kind of helps you see, like, what is Asmodeus a stand-in for? What types of deities? And so with those comps or comparables, as you would say. You've got Hades and Odin in your mind, along with Asmodeus. You can just kind of say, okay, a deity that's in that arena. So I'm looking at my homebrew pantheon and what kind of fits in that arena. So it talks about the aspect in an encounter. When using an aspect as an encounter, consider accompanying it with one or more other creatures, such as a priest, mage, or druid who acts as an intermediary, one or more acolytes, cultists, or even commoners, one or more otherworldly beings. So yeah, you can stack the deck so that it's set up for whatever challenge rating you want to achieve, right? You can use the stat blocks in here and then pile on some other creatures to hit that magic sweet spot that you need to make your encounter a challenge but not too overpowered, right? Yeah, so much stuff. You can see all these spells like Asmodeus's Hellish Chains, Asmodeus's Aura of Submission. So there's ways to bring those deities in through the spells as well. And then here you have the stat blocks if you're summoning the aspect, which is always going to be in here. It looks like this one, summon aspect of Asmodeus, is a 7th level conjuration. So you can, if you have a class that can cast 7th level spells, then you can they can summon an aspect of Asmodeus, which is pretty cool. I mean, you haven't seen that really happening before with summoning spells. So, and there's quite a few examples in here. There's at least 3 deities that you can read everything on and kind of get a feel for it. So, I mean, you can't go wrong. I mean, $9.95 for all this goodness, so many things you can use, and then a comparable tandem book, I guess you would say, with this deck of the Divine Mysteries. So I would really consider both of those to get something. And I love seeing titles like this because it's really outside the box. It works well with what Wizards has been doing, but it's not like just a slight enhancement to something. It's kind of going its own way, and we got to support that. So I hope you look for it in the video description links and give it a click. It's under Godly Grimoire. Try it out. Next we have O.R.E or Open Rules expansion for 5th edition, and it's by Huey Enfield. It's $10 and it is 86 pages. And what's really interesting about this is it's not something you see very often. So Wizards of the Coast released the SRD under the Creative Commons license, and that means that even without the Open Gaming license, you can use anything in the SRD as long as you have the Creative Commons license attribution. There's very little restriction on what you can do with it. And so this author, Huey Enfield, has decided to take some past work that they did and put it into a similar structure. It's basically an SRD that is Creative Commons licensed the same way that the 5.1 SRD is, which means if you are a creator, you can use this in your books as long as you attribute it properly. You can use it basically anywhere. And of course, as a DM, you can use it as a resource for the things that are in here, because it's got 41 subclasses, a brand new class called the Scion, as well as 3 subclasses for it, 16 weapons, 62 spells, 11 magic items, 15 experimental monsters designed to be easier to run than standard 5th edition monsters, rules for alchemy, vehicles, and mounts. So you're getting supplemental, like almost expanded rule sets for things that maybe aren't covered very well or just lightly covered in existing WotC materials, and then a bunch of new stuff. And again, every bit of it you can roll into any work that you're doing if you're trying to publish, which I think is cool. So I hope you check it out and support this. When we see this, we got to support it, right? Especially if you're a creator. I already purchased it just to show my support. We won't get more of these if people don't support them. And people say, well, if it's Creative Commons, why is there a charge? Well, they had to work to put this together, right? So we should pay something to get access to it, since this person is not Wizards of the Coast. They don't have Hasbro money. They can't just release an SRD and still make, millions of dollars, right? So you've got to check it out. So let's look inside, and you can see it's just bare bones format, but I think that's good because that's what the other SRDs are, right? So it goes into right off the bat the Path of the Crusader, which apparently does spell casting. So that's a subclass. The Path of the Gladiator, the Path of the Guerrilla, the Path of the Horde. So you're getting all these subclasses. Then Bard, we got College of the Stars, etc. But there's just tons of stuff in here. I mean, spells, subclasses, you name it, it's here. So here, let's look at this one. It's a monk subclass called Way of the Moth. This is as a student of the Moth. The Way of the Moth is a semi-religious order of monks who seek to replicate the audible grace of moths, which flutter and fly with such ease and direction that there must be some purpose to it. Students of the Way of the Moth study the insect and practice their own abilities in strange reverence. And then you've got Way of the Riptide. As a student of the Riptide, the odd individual finds meaning in ocean waves and currents. Students of the Riptide make the sea as part of themselves so that being from it physically does not part from them in spirit. They take advantage of what nature gives them by learning to surf. And then we've got this Watchman, which I think, let's see, is a fighter subclass. So it says, members of the City Watch, who are a private security force, often fall into the Watchman martial archetype. Watchmen excel at protection and prevention. They are quick to stand in the way of danger so others do not have to. So I like that. Again, you can pick and choose what you use. You can change this into whatever you want it to be. Just be sure to use your attribution and support this creator who's chosen to make this so freely available to other creators. Maybe if you're a creator, sometimes you're like, I just have one little blank spot I need to fill. Having something like this might be great because you maybe are just tapped out. You don't have any ideas, and then you can give attribution, throw it in there, and now your little spot where you had an extra page or an extra section of a page is full. But also, it's got a ton of stuff in it for $10. So if you're just a DM and want to use it, that's great too. So look for it under O.R.E or in the links below and give it a click. Next, we have Planes of Storm from Beyond the Screen, $4.95 on sale, normally $7.99. Authors Aviad Tall and Daniel Beveridge, and it's 26 pages. And we've talked about Beyond the Screen's work before. It's really good. They're building a setting with each of their releases. You get so much detail that you can combine to have that awesome new place that most people haven't played, right? But you can really flesh out and make feel like it's yours. So I think it's challenging when people play in places like the Forgotten Realms because your players may come to the table with preconceptions about what it should be, what it should not be. And sometimes you don't want to homebrew something from the ground up, every little aspect. Sometimes you want like something in the middle. So I think these third-party settings, especially ones where they've got this almost like a drip strategy where they just drip a little piece of it, a little piece of it, a little piece of it, and eventually you have the whole thing. Those are great because your players aren't going to be very familiar with them. And since they're so new and the players don't know what they are, you can change it really easily. Nobody's going to get upset or say that's not canon. And you'll have all these material and they're continuing to produce it, right? So you can just build on and build on and build on. But the other beauty of this sort of strategy of separate little releases is that you can use them on their own. They don't have to be part of that setting that Beyond the Screen has been building. So it says this regional supplement unveils a new realm of adventure. Brave ethereal storms meet native factions, explore dangerous locations, and face new creatures in battle. So chapter 1, the 𝘽𝙤 introduces a spiritual tribe with a sacred duty, protecting Geistcrown from those who would use his power malevolently. The spirit walkers of the 𝘽𝙤 are mages of great power, renowned for their connection with the spirit realm. Chapter 2, the 𝘽𝙤 covers a faction of nomadic air genasi living on floating rocks. The 𝘽𝙤 use gliders to travel long distances with ease, guide herds of beasts away from danger, and watch for incoming storms. Geistcrown in Chapter 3 explores the site of an ancient calamity in which the storm elves vanished. The chapter includes 2 short adventures that can be used to learn of an age lost and crossed into the spirit realm. And then there's lore on ethereal storms and rules for using them in the game, as well as magic items, spells, and creatures in the appendices. There's a bundle here where you can get an adventure that kind of is played in this area for only, it looks like $7 right now on sale. So you can click our link and then also check out the bundle. But I absolutely love the cover. Let me zoom in again so you can see. I mean, look at how gorgeous that is. So beautifully done. And you know, they're seeing this ethereal storm coming, and they're kind of saying, hey, we got to worry about this. And I love how it depicts their floating rocks that they live on and all of that stuff. So cool stuff. So you can see it's separated into those 3 chapters we talked about. They have a nice index of all the creature stat blocks. It says, like many regions in Eleanor, the Vestruia Plains are the site of an ancient calamity. Once upon a time, the Storm Elves ruled from the city of Tempest. In the events that brought their rule to an end, 𝘏𝙤𝙬, the mountain on which the city stood, shattered. Only ruins and unstable magic remain from those times. Now, ethereal storms rule over the land, making travel extremely dangerous. Further away from the split peaks of 𝘏𝙤𝙬, nature thrives. Flying jellyfish soar through the skies, winged beasts nest on massive floating boulders, and terrestrial predators stalk the tall grass in search of prey. Few factions inhabit these harsh plains, but those who do must work hard to survive. Some choose to avoid the relentless winds, while others find innovative ways to harness their power. So it's a vivid description of this region that you can just plop into your setting if you want, or you can use it as part of Eleanor, the ongoing setting that they're creating with Beyond the Screen. But it's also well written, right? I really got a feel for what it's like and how it's different from maybe other regions that we're familiar with. It doesn't sound like the Sword Coast, right? It's got its own feel. So I love that. And here we have some stat blocks. We got a CR1 and CR4 for some 𝘽𝙤𝙬 characters. You've got a tracker and a lasher. And then there's some story seeds in here too. So let's look at that first one. It says, outrageous job. Goran, the spirit walker of the 𝘽𝙤𝙬 Lynx clan, found a powerful rage spirit near their camp. After a failed attempt to make peace with the entity, he was forced to trap it in a bottle. No one in the clan admits to having manifested the spirit, but the spirit walker suspects the teenagers had something to do with it. Regardless, he can't leave the clan to release the spirit far enough out into the wild. He has no apprentice to protect his people in his stead, and he worries the teenagers will manifest more spirits while he's gone. A group of adventurers would be perfect for that job. While the party is visiting the Lynx clan, he would ask them to take the bottled spirit and seek an ethereal storm. The storm shouldn't kill the spirit outright, but it would drag it far enough away so it can't harm anyone. If they manage to do so and return to the clan, he will pay them with 3 expensive diamonds worth 100 GP each. Before they leave, he will tell them that they are most likely to find an ethereal storm near Geistcrown. If the characters open the bottle before they reach an ethereal storm, the rage spirit will attack them. And then there's stats for that in Appendix 3. If they reach an ethereal storm and release the spirit, it will be carried away by a powerful gale. However, an ethereal storm poses its own danger, which may escalate if they don't escape fast enough. So, lovely. They've woven into this story seed many elements of the book, from the storms to the factions to the stat blocks. So you could really experience a lot of the material that you're purchasing with just that one story seed. And that's just one. There's others here. So I think it's going to be really, really cool. The Selgers, they sound really good too. The storms that ravage these plains are fearsome to behold, and any that make their home here must be ready to escape them. Some burrow for safety beneath the earth, and others can sense an oncoming storm early. But for those who can do neither, the solution comes with the mastery of the wind itself. Like birds on the wing, the air genasi of the Selger tribe navigate the skies with ease, but without wings of their own, they must rig sails onto airborne stones and command the air currents to carry them onwards to safety. So that is just dramatic, right? You could see the situation where you get to these floating boulders that have these sails on them, and it's like a storm is coming, and I mean, all sorts of stuff is happening as they're trying to navigate and get out of there, and the characters are just in the midst of all this. And what do they do, and how do they help? Can they delay the storm, or can they provide wind for the sails, or what can they do, right? And it's just, I just think it's visually stunning to think about. So as usual, fun stuff from Beyond the Screen. So I hope you venture into the Plains of Storm by looking for it in the video description links and giving it a click. Next, we have Roles and Rolls. Tome of Shadow Organizations, which is basically dark factions and villains. It's from Dreamers and Players. It's $16.99 for 325 pages, 5th edition. It says, dive into the shadows. The story is as meaningful as the struggles and victories in adventure. And heroes triumph with the enemies they defeat. This book is ready to unleash the enemy organizations that will give meaning to your adventures. Prepare to fight the dark organizations walking in the shadows. So you get 17 fully detailed dark factions, including their NPCs, monsters, symbols, special magic items, and quests. Then you get 46 villain and arch-villain NPCs of various challenge ratings with stats, backstories, personality traits, bonds, ideals, and flaws. Then you get 28 deadly or dastardly henchmen, including portraits, stats, backstories, personality trait, etc., and dozens of maps. So really cool that you're going to get all that in this 325 page book. So you're going to get to see 39 pages. So you can see here they have these organizations from the Black Daggers all the way down to the Yellow Crowns. And the artwork is really, really nice. I liked looking at the artwork that I could see in here. So it gives you like a membership. So the Bloodsworn, which is the first one we see, has members around 3,000. The recognition is a guild emblem. They communicate through magical signal devices. Their total assets worth about 280,000 gold. The weekly income about 3,000 gold. And their services include murder for hire and kidnapping. So very cool. And that's the structure that's going to probably follow for each of the guilds. You're going to get all that information. Then you get a history paragraph, establishment, exclusive membership, recognition, communication, influence, the ranks, and what that means, and then how to join, as well as some related magic items. So that's a cool structure because you're going to get all this information, including some stat blocks. So there's a CR11 stat block in here as well. I like that. This is so much information. So let's see how many pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages on that faction. So that's a lot of material. And sometimes you just need a faction to fill in the blanks of like, what is the motivation for this character? Why are they so bad? You know, what is driving them, and what are their connections, and what are their relationships with the other people in this town or place, right? So having this, you can really weave that in. It says the Bloodsworn is a guild of mercenaries that are dedicated to war and bloody strife. They were originally formed to guard as a part of the kingdom, but over time they fell from favor and transformed into a mercenary band that was loyal to whoever paid the greatest price for their services. They are rampaging over the realm, engaging in conflicts and carrying out various illegal activities such as setting fire to villages or kidnapping individuals for ransom. So they're not up to the best stuff, right? But I like how you get all this establishment. So you get a lot of, that was an overview of the history, but there's a lot more detailed history here. So you can have somebody rattle that off or kind of slowly reveal some of that. They're extremely picky about who they let join and become new recruits. And in light of the fact that the Bloodsworn is not a covert guild, its members do not feel the need to conceal their symbol. That's a piece from the recognition section. They're able to carry on natural conversations with one another since it's not necessary for them to conceal the goals they seek, of the things they seek, basically. They have significant impact on the way the warfare is conducted. I'm just jumping through all these sections and reading a little bit because it's so cool that you're getting all that background. And then they have some magic items like Castellan's necklace, which is a wondrous item, very rare, requires attunement. While wearing this necklace, you can use your action to cast a sending spell to another creature that attuned to the Bloodsworn insignia. Ending a creature's attunement to a Bloodsworn insignia and banning that creature from attuning any Bloodsworn insignia, lifting a creature's ban, casting the hold monster spell to a creature you can see within 90 feet of you, and you learn all other creatures' names, surnames, and faces that attune to the Bloodsworn insignia. So they have a way of like uniting this group with this necklace. This would probably be worn by somebody high ranking, I would assume, because they have the Bloodsworn insignia, which is more uncommon, probably going to be given to most of the members, right? And we're just scratching the surface. Actually, there's more than, so there's more characters in here. So we said, I think 5 pages, that's 6, 7. I mean, and if you count the art, that's going to be even more, 9. Yeah, you're getting so many. And then there's the mercenaries. So we spoke too soon. There's far more information in here. We're on page 21, and we just finished the first faction. So no wonder it's 325 pages. They got lots of images of the different characters and stuff like that. So really cool. And, if you're looking for villains, if you're looking for factions, this is going to be a tremendous option for you. And you just never know when you're going to need one of those. So it's good to have it in your back pocket. So look for it in the video description links. It's under Roles and Rolls, Tome of Shadow Organizations. Give it a... Now we come to that part of the episode where we talk about other titles that were released recently that we don't have time to take a deep dive into, but we hope you look at the links in the video description, give them a click, and check them out on your own. First up, we have the Canton of Saguaro. It's a system agnostic module for medium level parties. It is $2.99 for 2 pages, and it looks pretty cool. You can see here it's almost like a hex crawl with all the information there that you can read. Then we've got the Chateau of Stolen Memories. It's a 3rd level, 5th edition compatible adventure by Rob Swanson. It is on sale for $8.79 for 40 pages. And we've got Crochet Monster Portfolio with this cover that mimics one of the first monster manuals ever. And it's $6.50 for 15 pages. It gives you STLs, which you can use for miniatures, and crochet patterns to make your own monsters for use at the table or gifts, right? We've got Curses Revisited as well here. It's $8 for 8 pages, or maybe 6 pages. Yes, 6 pages. And it has all sorts of curse-related spells, basically a singular spell that has 30 options. So I should say a singular spell, but 30 different options to use to give different curses, rather than other ways that you might give curses. It's a pretty fun option to mix it up with curses. Then we've got The Evil in Dromere Keep. It's an adventure for levels 3 to 5 for 5th edition, $9.95 for 24 pages. Then we've got Fun with Planes, which is an adventure for levels 1 to 12, including some backgrounds, $20 for 290 pages. Then we've got Heretic's Guide to Devotion and Divinity for 5th edition, $24.95 for 200 pages, includes subclasses, monsters, and items. We've got Northland Saga Spring Rites. It's an adventure for $12.99 with 40 pages, and this works with 5th edition or old school, it looks like, because they're both listed here, so I'm not sure. Maybe it's just old school, Castles and Crusades, maybe. So I'm not sure about 5th edition, but maybe they have a 5th edition version somewhere around here as well, so be sure to check that out. Then we got Player's Guide to the Northlands, which is $12.99, and it's 39 pages, and this has equipment and player options for you. Then we've got The Princess Frog for $6.50 for 48 pages, and this is an adventure for 5th edition. Then we've got Recharged Book of Many Things, $2.95 for 17 pages, and it's going to give you recharge options for all the monsters that appear in the Book of Many Things. It looks like 144 different recharge abilities, and remember, you can use those for other creatures. They don't have to be for the ones in the Book of Many Things, although they work great with that. You got Rise of the Dormant Dynasty, $2.98 for 12 pages, and this is an adventure for level 5, and it also includes some magic items. Then we've got the Tamer, which is a brand new class for $5 for 13 pages, and it is for 5th edition. It doesn't say that over on the left, but it is for 5th edition. So we do hope you check that out. Thanks so much for watching. That's all we have this week. I hope you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment for that algorithm. I will respond to all comments personally. And if you can share the video out there with your friends, that would be awesome. We do need to get as many eyeballs as we can on these books to help these third-party creators. And if you click any of these links, you're going to not only help the creators, but you're going to help the channel through a small affiliate fee. In fact, you can bookmark any of them to use to go to Drive-Thru or DM's Guild, and then every time you shop, no matter what you buy at those sites, you're going to be helping the channel with that affiliate fee, and we really appreciate that. We also have 7 books of our own that we've released over the years at splinterverse.com. They're listed in the video description, including our Mithril best-selling Feywild Companion, and our platinum best-selling Dragonlance Companion, as well as 5 other options for you. So we hope you check those out. And we've got 2 more coming next year as part of a 2-book Kickstarter with a campaign setting and adventures. So be sure to follow us everywhere at Splendiverse, including the new places like Mastodon, Blue Sky, all of that. We're everywhere, even Threads. So we hope you find us and follow us so you can be the first to know about what we've got cooking. Well, thanks again for watching. I appreciate your support. And until next time, happy adventuring.